Chapter 42. We left. Sitting on top of the box, I looked behind to see what had been my home for 9 long years go up in flames, embers carried high in the windless sky. Those mortals took my lair. We live to fight another day, but the need to flee leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. My instinct to turn and fight conflicts with the knowledge that there is nothing to be gained and the house being already lost makes a difference in helping me stay put. I do not dare imagine how Loth must feel. He was quick to agree that fighting the actual army on the field and engaging in a protracted battle is a doomed proposition, and also stupid, but just like me, he is harried by his emotions. I am angry, deeply angry. Objectively, I know that we are at war and we were simply outmaneuvered. Vi victis in all this nonsense. Subjectively, I fully intend to watch the herald beg for mercy as I pull his witch's insides out and strangle his eyeless head with her intestines. Or some such. I will usher him onto his new age one limb at a time. I will. I will plan properly and win. Behind the box are Loth's main gun and 3 drawn carriages carrying the supplies of Venet's men, who themselves trail us on their horses. Escaping was not too difficult. The house had 3 prepared tunnels and we managed to use the biggest ones. We piled what effects we could in the carriages, gathered the rest in my bedroom, which was subsequently sealed. All non-essential items such as cheap raw materials, prototypes etc. were consigned to the fire. Our ability to strike back is still intact though our lives are wrecked. Did you have the time to feed, Ariane? Isaac's voice comes from inside the box. Venet moved him here, as it remains the most secure place in the entire convoy. My sarcophagus is there also, ready to protect me from the sun and, according to Loth, powder charge or even indirect artillery fire. Not that I would put it to the test. No. Their vitality was simply too low. It was not worth the effort. I should be fine until tomorrow. I do feel a light onset of the thirst. I drank from a passerby on our way back to Higginsville, though not deeply, and this should allow me to continue until tomorrow. Good. Good. We need to keep going for a while. My fellow vampire probably worries about my composure, a wise decision. My siblings are not exactly renowned for their self-control. With this said, the conversation dies out. None of us are in a talkative mood. An hour later we stop at a crossroads. Venet, Isaac, Loth, Dalton and I gather for an improvised war council around a map hastily drawn on their largest table. We have 2 priorities. The first is to get the government off your backs. Fortunately, the consortium has given me full authority to draw on our ample resources, and with what Ariane told me of Fillmore's basement, I have a perfect way to get rid of him. Will he not fight back? A man such as himself has many secret enemies, Ariane, people who are more than willing to withdraw their support for a shot at his position. I can have him retired by the end of the week, even if I have to ask favors from the Charleston Enclave. You can count on me. In the meanwhile, I need the 2 of you. Loth clears his throat. Request. That the 2 of you go to the port city of Clarkson's Cove to the south and talk to a man called Dennis. He will have the information you need. To do what? Why, to find a pirate ship and board it, of course. Truly, fiction is no match for reality. Clarkson's Cove, Georgia, 2 days later. I step behind Loth on half-buried planks, over desolate marshland. His broad back is a bit hunched, not under stress but because of deep-seated hatred. I do not need to ask. My companion may act the gentleman now, but he used to be a warlord. The veneer of civilization has always been skin-deep on him. Now, it is cracking. We're here. Would you like to do the talking? Loth turns, his eye manic under his thunderous brow, and yet he reasserts his control in a mere moment. I admire his discipline. Alas, why not? Then after a pause. Thanks for asking. I do not reply. There is no need for that between us. We cross an open expanse to find a large 1-story wooden house built on an elevated mound in the middle of the swamps. A fire burns brightly near its entrance, and 2 sentinels relax after seeing that there are only 2 of us. Unwise, though not unexpected. They're armed with muskets, and quite a few blades besides. Their clothes are mostly green-dyed cotton and cured leather, and they leave very little skin uncovered even in this early fall. Their bushy beards give them an unkempt and dangerous look. They trail us as we climb up the path. "I think you're lost, friends," says the first man with a nervous smirk. No one can be completely relaxed in front of Loth, especially now that he exudes barely contained violence. "We're here to see Quick Wallace." "Maybe Quick Wallace don't wanna see you." "He does." Loth's voice has an unmistakable tone of finality in it. "Stay here, I'll check." Smart. The first gun gets in while the second steps back and eyes us nervously. As time passes by, the man becomes increasingly paler under Loth's pitiless glare. "He'll see y'all now." No funny business. I follow my friend inside to a large open room used both as a meeting place and a kitchen, apparently. The smells of roasted meat and tobacco permeate the air, the first coming from a fireplace upon which roasts a whole piglet. Men sit and lean among derelict furniture centered around a curious trio. The first is a blond man with an eye patch, sitting lazily in the room's throne. The second is a huge black man in leather coveralls with an oversized machete standing by his side. He is as tall as Loth, and his face is covered in what seems to be ritual scars. The last one is a surprise. He is the only clean-shaven person of the lot, has a monocle hanging from his city jacket, and is currently nervously holding a bowler hat that has apparently been subjected to this cruel treatment for at least a year. The blond man is clearly the leader. His posture is relaxed, assertive, and his brown coat is of good cut. Jeweled ring adorn his fingers. He leans forward and starts, with a smile and a cautious glance. "I'm Wallace. This is Moise," he points at the tall man with a stiletto he is using to clean his nails, "and this here dashing lad is Lustig. Now tell me why the fuck I shouldn't carve you up like a pig and stick your gal on my mast." He smirks. "I am wondering, do we really need him? We just need his crew, right? And I have a good way to ensure their loyalty." Loth, who once again proves his unerring self-control, simply throws Isaac's letter to the man. He doesn't look at it and instead passes the envelope directly to Lustig. "We're not some pansy-ass city folks here, we have Lustig to read for us. We have our ways. For example, Moise is here. He don't part the seas, yeah. He parts people." We remain nonplussed. "It's from Savannah, boss." Wallace's face falls. "You're one of them." Loth slowly shakes his head before adding, "Nay, she is." All eyes turn to me. I grab everyone and roughly push terror at the forefront. The effort required leaves me a tad dizzy and a bit thirsty. I should not have done that. Now that the fishing contest is done, can we go on, or do ye wankers need to jack each other off before ye sail? You could hear a pin drop. Loth, you should have just told me you needed to unwind a bit. Bet you wouldn't be so tough without that monster behind you. I take exception to that. Or rather, I would, but Loth needs the relief more than I do. I grab Lustig by the wrist in the frozen room and head for the exit. Before I cross it, I turn and add in a dignified tone, "Don't take too long." I stand outside with the strange pirate by my side, still holding our letter. The two sentinels stare at us, with expressions of bovine surprise. Inside the house, I hear the rustle of fabric as Loth carefully removes his jacket. Then the heckling start. "Any of ye cocksuckers want to put your fists where your mouths are?" There follows the sound of feet rushing forward, of flesh hitting flesh, and that of a body impacting the wall. Then all hell breaks loose. The sound of fighting, the crash of bodies, thrown furniture and broken glass, the grunts of effort and the moans of pain form a disharmonious symphony to match my survey of the land. The composition is not so bad, all in browns and greens with hints of red. I am almost tempted to draw it later. "So," starts Lustig with a shaky voice, "come here often." A pirate's body crashes through a window and lands in the mud, stopping after a few rolls. "No." "Oh." After half a minute, a roar explodes outwards and scares a few bats into flying away. "Ha, that's Moise," adds a sentinel with a vindictive smile. Loth bellows. The sound, Flat and pure as if it were coming from a longship's horn makes the remaining windows shake. A duel of titanic proportion announces itself to us through the walls as if they were not here. Fizz on flesh, broken wood and shattered pottery, massive bodies crashing around like battering rams. After a few more seconds the fight reaches a climax and the two men smash through the door like freight trains, sending the thing careening in the air. Loth landed on top and he stands up without trouble. Apart from a thin line of blood coming from his temple, he appears unharmed. Moyes looks a bit dazed. My friend slowly walks to a dead tree by the path and simply uproots it. He breaks the trunk in half and approaches his opponent with his hideous, improvised club. The roots shake ominously as he marches forward. "Remember what ye asked me 2 minutes ago?" "No man," replies the black man while spitting blood, "I'm stumped." Loth looks at the thing in his hand, then at Moyes smiling bloodily on the ground, then back to the improvised siege equipment. Then he drops it. And laughs. Both men roar with hilarity, soon joined by the recovering pirates. Soon, bottles start to appear and the whole group down bottles of rotgut like they're water. I don't understand what is happening. Is this a men thing? 15 minutes later. Wallace points at a map salvaged from under a broken table. This here cross marks Cotton Cove. It should harbor the St. Rita, one of the many smuggling ships used by the pirates of Bretagne under that accursed Frenchman, Jean Lafitte, until the day after tomorrow. The ship stays anchored long enough for the crew to unload their goods, get drunk off their arses, load some more loot then fuck off. We'll catch them with their pants down. Good, then I will have my fill of blood for the first time in 2 bloody weeks. To avoid detection I'll take Lustig, Moyes and the first shift crew to go by foot and take down their land-bound team. Patterson, you'll drop us off half a mile up the coast and cut off their retreat. Malady, HM, would you mind staying with us? Not at all, Captain. Good, HRM, good. Then it's settled. Let's go. Those mortals are only a little scared of me, and they're all different. I could get used to this, of the normal ones knowing what I am and accepting it. I remember the creed of the Inaru vampire faction and their hidden cities, filled with people who know what they are. I can see the attraction of a symbiotic relationship. Loth and I return to grab some effects and our weapons and board the pirate ship. The smuggling base at Cotton Cove is very cleverly designed, I will give them that. No road goes to it and as far as I can see, it is hidden from passing ships by judicious use of rocky outcrops and vegetation. 3 ramshackle buildings huddle onto cover and the telltale plumes of smoke are noticeably absent. I raise a fist and the men behind me stop. No signs of them. Stay here, I will scout ahead. I move to the compound and stop 10 paces away from the main entrance. I smell that a lot of blood has been spilled here very recently. I detect no heartbeat. I silently look through every window and see nothing but crates and personal effects. My summary inspection over, I return to the others and inform them of my findings. The mood turns grim. "This ain't good," mutters Wallace. "Let's check the base thoroughly and then proceed with the plan." I add. I was really looking forward to a good meal. This setback is unfortunate. For our allies. No, Ari, hold on. They are under Isaac's protection and he trusted me with those enticing people. I need to at least try to keep them safe and sound and delicious. I mean, safe and sound. Ignore the thirst. I have done it before and I can do it again. We reach the buildings once more and Wallace and a few others remove the cover from lanterns to inspect their surroundings. I lightly tap on the captain's shoulder. He turns with fury but flinches when he finds himself staring at my mask. 2 people were killed here. He points his light at the ground, where ominous red pools spread in extinguished bracero. Recent? Less than 3 hours. The man swears like a sailor, which I guess he is, so it should be fine really. I wonder if he would swear less if I made him more pliable. Just a small bite. Those torches were lit, they were doused. Malady, can you see anything else? I point at the largest building. More blood here. No one alive. I lead them into what turns out to be the barracks. 2 double beds and a few hammocks surround a cooking station as well as an upended table. Stained cards litter the ground. Blood marks and pools and splashes cover almost everything. The stench is unpleasant. Still no bodies, mutters Moise. I do not reply, instead I grab under a bed to reveal a severed hand still holding 2 cards. Jack of Spade and Queen of Heart. Ominous. Lastic runs outside to retch. I sigh. So they took most of the bodies. Who would do that? Asks a pirate. I doubt it was vampires. It is far too messy. Even a rogue one would drink his fill. Out of ideas, I inspect the wound on the limb I found. A blade and overwhelming strength cut it, which does not mean much. I believe that at least half of the men present would have the strength to do it. Are we too late? Did the Brotherhood's muscle do that? We need to get to the ship. Loth and Dalton show no fear, but the pirate crew is more apprehensive. A few mutter about monsters, and one of them stops in the middle of signing himself when he realizes I am watching. Yay! Let's go. Come on lads, time to earn your pay. Our group leaves the abandoned buildings and we follow a small trail to appear hidden in the shadow of an islet. We find an empty rowing boat and traces of blood. I ain't going. 'Tis some vile sorcery, it is. Mutters one of the crew. He's right, Cap, and we don't know what we're up against. A part of me knows I should let Wallace handle the discipline. This part of me is buried by another, much more interested in this development. So, you are not going then? I asked lightly. Silence is made as 8 people hold their breath. For a moment, nothing happens, then the entire squad scrambles aboard. Good. And also, slightly disappointing. Men start rowing while Wallace and I stay at the prow. The night is rather dark, and his attempts to spot something on the St. Rita's deck are so far fruitless. I could just tell him that there is nobody there, but I do not bother. Rather, we have a small problem. Loth. Aye, lass? If you use any more power to row, we'll soon complete a circle. Ah, right. Even with Moise on the other side, the strengths of the teams are not balanced. I would need to row myself, and that is not happening while mortals are here to serve. We make our way across the cove in relative silence. The men smell appetizingly terrified. Perhaps I should. No. I can wait a bit more. Soon, Wallace expertly aligns the rowing boat with our target and I jump on the deck while the others climb up a netting. Deserted, except for more blood. This one is slightly older, and I deduce that whoever slaughtered the smugglers started with their ship. I open the only door to the lower level and listen. There is exactly 1 heartbeat left. The crew gathers upon the main deck with their backs to each other. The tension is palpable. I signal Dalton, who relays what I found to Loth. The pair climbs down, soon followed by an irate Wallace, angry at losing the initiative. 2 men are left behind to guard the rowboat. They exchange a nervous glance, and when they turn around, the rest of us have disappeared. I wait, hidden in the sails. The smell of the sea and the sound of the waves lapping at the hull relax me. This is the waiting part. After a few seconds, something clicks on the treated wood. I wait. More things click on the side. Fascinating. They can at least breathe underwater. Now 8 things are crawling up towards the clueless pirates. They are standing back to back with their pistols drawn, sweeping the darkness with their lanterns. I wait. One of the things pops its head above the railing, and I am once more surprised, and pleased. This is a manfish. Or a fishman. Bah, it matters not what it is called, it is humanoid. A bald head covered in scales and a flat face without a nose sits atop a powerful chest and muscular arms ending in claws. Besides the white face, the creature appears to be colored a deep cyan. This will be interesting. The thing grabs the railing with 2 hands and repositions in what I recognize to be a prepared jump, then it launches at the 2 men with a scream, interrupted when I boot its head into the wooden planks. The other 4 creatures already on the deck scramble and dodge instead of charging, and the 2 pirates miss their panicked shot as a result. If the detonations have not alerted the rest of the crew, their girlish screams will. What the fuck is that? I shelve my annoyance and grab a thrown trident by the shaft, only to return it to its sender with interest. The strange weapon catches the fish creature in its guarding arms and propels it above the rail. And then the one under my foot grunts a strange, sibilant cry and they all jump out, leaving me with the leader and 2 urine-soaked seamen. Marvelous. The thing is not struggling, so I remove my foot to allow it to move up. It slowly does so and I take the opportunity to inspect my captive. The creature is almost as tall as Loth, though its build is lithe and sinuous. Its legs have been replaced by a muscular tail with pointy fins that slither on the ground. The white of its face extends down to its chest and only stops where the belly button would be. Its eyes are a dirty amber color with no sclera, the black of its pupils fixed on me. It opens its lipless mouth to reveal needle-like fangs but otherwise stays put. I, however, am quite thirsty. It was a good hunt, I whisper with my fangs out. Nirari. I freeze in surprise. What? It speaks? Its voice is raspy and strange, and yet there is no mistaking it. It called my name? Against all expectations, the creature bows in a supplicant gesture and offers its throat. You speak my language. Nirari, submit. The rest of the pirate crew rushes out. Silence reigns as they take in their terrified comrades and the strange creature kneeling before me. It's that devil thing that killed the St. Rita's crew. Kill it! Screams Wallace. HSSSSSSS. A collective intake of breath accompanies a collective lowering of guns. You would not be trying to interrupt my mistress? Because that would be a bad idea, adds a voice from the back. Loth and Dalton emerge from the depth with a portly shivering man between them. At the sight of the creature, the madman soils himself, adding a new and unnecessary layer to the complex cocktail of odors assailing me. Wallace does not reply. Loustick and Moise both pray, the latter in French. Their inane babbles grate on my nerves. Do you understand me? Nirari, Mashil Duru. An expiatory sacrifice. The creature offers his life to redeem the crime of his tribe. Agreed. I approach and bite. Slowly, the sacrificial essence feeds the thirst. Ah. Yes. Exquisite. It has been long since I tasted a blood this rich. A ritual offering made by a willing creature. It tastes of the sea, of blood and conflict, of regret, of desperation. I let go as soon as I received my fill. I am merciful tonight. Those creatures are hunters like me, and they submitted before the power of the conquerors, as is fitting. There is little to be gained in annihilating their leader. I would prefer to earn a favor instead. I lick the wound clean and enjoy the strangeness of the cool scale under my tongue. The released fishman's eyes widen in surprise when I gesture towards the ocean. It bows deeply and slithers away. A splash announces its departure. You let that thing go? Yes? Are you insane, woman? It killed the ship's whole crew. I walk towards the pirates. Everyone but their captain and Moise take a step back. With my half-mask I must look alien to them, although obviously not alien enough or they would not take the liberty to question me. And? You think to tell me how to deal with my prey? You intend to dictate the terms of our contract. It's not about that. They are monsters. And so, I add with a smile, you are not here to decide who lives or dies, you are here to assist us in getting the information we want. Is that clear? Huh? Silence. Is that insubordination that I see in his eyes? We will see soon. In the meanwhile, I have a sailor to question. I grab the man and drag him to the prow of the ship. His mind is fragile, mistress. I do not know if we can keep him sane. I care not, I only need one answer from him. I sit the mewling man in front of me. He's a wreck, tearing up and shaking like a leaf in the wind. His uniform is stained with sauce, and I presume that what we found was the ship's cook. Let me guess, you found him in the larder? Aye, lass, now hurry up because we have more to discuss. Is it related to their treachery? Asks Dalton. What do you mean? Have they betrayed us? No, lass, but they intend to. There are telling signs. Really? Really? I was going to interrogate one but you seem so sure. Yes, we are. Tell her the signs, Dalton. Well, they are not trying to ingratiate themselves at all, which anyone who wants to pursue an alliance would do. Their men won't meet my eyes, and there are always at least 2 crewmen with their hands on their weapon keeping their eye on either of us. Finally, they're pirates. They are dishonest by profession. I am not objecting, however, this could be caution and nothing more. Easy enough to check, lass. If they delay our landing until dawn, they are planning something that needs you to be out. In the meantime, question the lad. I forcefully raised the cook's head to me. He stinks horribly, stubble covers his fat jowls, and he has a face a drunk mother could not love. Drool drips down his fat lips. They let this creature prepare their food. At this stage the fishmen eating them is just nature correcting itself. I grab the arm and bite lightly, capturing his attention with my eyes. Tell me your name. They came from the sea. Your name. Huh? Look at me. Good. Now give me your name. Alan Parks. Good, Alan. How long have you been serving aboard this ship? 3 years, as a cook, ma'am. Under who? Captain Strauss, ma'am. And during this time you stopped at Savannah, correct? Yes, ma'am, 3 times. On the last time you delivered items for an auction, correct? Yes, ma'am, from stuff they found on that accursed wreck, Captain Strauss and his dumbass first mate. Where was the wreck? The monsters, I push harder and the rope between us starts to unravel. I grab it in the iron grip of my will and return his attention to the here and now. Where was the wreck? On the beach. By Black Harbor Village. And why did you say it's cursed? My head. Why? They came for him. The first mate. Those crazy strong goons. And then the monsters. Knew. I dropped the babbling body at my feet. His mind is gone, snapped like a twig, but I have what I needed. So, some people abducted their first mate. It must be the Brotherhood, they know where the wreck is. I feel like we are always a step behind. Our foes know. We need to head back and warn the others. I snap the poor sod's neck and we leave the prow to find the crew hard at work with sails and ropes. Loath first, we climb on the structure behind the biggest mast, called aft castle according to my companions, to find the captain at the wheel. What are you doing? Asks Loath without preamble. Moise, Byam, crosses his arms threateningly as matter of habit, surely. His frown softens when he realizes who he is trying to impress. We're leaving this place. I'm not using the rowing boat with those things around. My ship will escort us back to Clarkson's Cove and you can be on your way from there. He is not asking for hazard pay or about the fishmen. How? Uncharacteristic. When do you think we will arrive? I ask. I watch patiently from behind my mask as a rivulet of sweat falls from his temple. Nervous, are we? Truly these people do not have the means to match their ambition. Probably sometime tonight, huh? That said, we're slower because we don't have a whole crew. Is that so? Sweaty silence. I was wondering, was taking the St. Rita part of your agreement with the consortium? Huh? Sure it was. I'll settle it with Mr. Isaac. No worries. Is that so? Even sweatier silence. Well, I will be below deck until we arrive. The man nods and when I turn around, I hear 2 sighs of relief. I should not be picky since those are pirates after all, but those gentlemen of fortune cannot be the sharpest tools in the shed, or in this case the saber rack I suppose. Disappointing. Annoyed at their mediocrity and quite proud at having used below deck in an actual conversation, I open the door leading down, a decision I regret immediately. Ugh, this place stinks. Pirates are not known for their pursuit of hygiene, mistress. HSSS. Don't do that, mistress, or you will have to breathe more of this air. I hate it when he is right. A flight of stairs leads to an open surface against the hull. Hammocks still hang from posts stained with congealed blood. Further up, a cooking space and the storage proper occupy the space. On the side are the main attractions. Is that? Naval guns, lass, yes. 4 on each side. They look old. They are, but they are the cleanest thing on this sorry floating derelict. Right, well, they shall remain unused. I will neutralize the crew and we can leave using the rowing boat as soon as it is convenient. Right. Answers Loth with a twinkle in his eyes. Dalton looks strangely excited by our adventure. He inspects the interior of the ship looking for the watcher knows what. I hope they are not up for some dastardly shenanigans, for I am not. We are going to head back to solid land and nothing untoward will happen. Nothing at all. I'm heading out, I announce and approach the hull. As expected, there is some sort of opening, currently shut tight, that allows the guns to be fired upon enemy ships without first blowing a hole through the thin partition separating us from a horde of fishmen, squids, and an entirely unreasonable amount of salty water. I play with the chains to try and open it, first by myself and then with the condescending help of my two companions. HSSS, just trying to help. The very picture of innocence, those two. I climb out with my talons stuck in the salt-encrusted wood. I am close to the water when something breaks its surface. The head of the fishman I spared earlier. He is accompanied by his whole party. Their agile bodies slice the surface and they cast unreadable glances at me before diving back under. I suppose we are in a state of truce, for they are content with just watching me. I angle myself up and climb along the wall in complete silence. I detect 8 heartbeats, as expected. There are 3 on the aft castle and the rest moves around, except for one that stays at the prow. I slowly make my way there until I see him. Laustic is acting strangely, opening and closing his lantern to provide light signals. We are currently moving along the coast and he is making those signals towards the sea. Ah, of course, he is communicating with Wallace's ship, the Red Maiden. That is not entirely unexpected and not too worrisome. I shall just wait until the message is sent and then strike. I climb up ever so slowly as my unfortunate victim leans forward to better read the response. I push myself at the limit of the banister. No one is looking. A blink later, I drag the pirate above the railing by the throat and bite, with one hand stuck to hold me and the other wrapped around his mouth. He is so close to me, intimately so. His heart thunders just below my elbow and my knee is a bit too close to his manhood for respectability. Both of his hands rest on my shoulder with all the grip he can muster. It does not hurt me and I do enjoy the light pressure. You have been a very bad boy, haven't you? The bite weakened the man's already fleeting resolve. This is like stealing candy from a sleeping child. Not that I would. Well? He nods frightfully. You wanted to do something that would anger me, yes? Nod. And that's bad, right? You do not want to hurt me. He shakes his head frenetically. I'm a bit disappointed, but I will forgive you, if you tell me what you had planned. Whisper it in my ear. His warm breath tickles my skin and makes my hair flow. I think I would enjoy drinking him dry very much, though it would be terribly unwise. I am, after all, well fed. We were not going to hurt you. We were going to seal you in a coffin and ransom you to the rich bastard. And the others. Them as well. We were just going to rough them up if they put up a fight. We were not going to kill you, I swear. I believe you, I whisper back, then break his neck. I lower myself and the body to avoid making a splash. Just as I lower myself enough, the lead fishman raises up from the ocean and grabs the body before passing it along. It disappears under the black wave. Now I understand. They must be acquainted with my master and expect its spawn to leave behind a trail of corpses. Vindicating their beliefs annoys me slightly. I am not like him. They betrayed us first. I am different. When I reach the railing once more, I take almost a few seconds to study where my foes lie, then strike. I jump from the railing up to the front mast and break the neck of a sailor working on the rope. Before he can react, I slay his companion. I immediately jump and land behind a third man and stab a finger between his eyes. A knife at the back of the head silences a man looking at the coast. Did you hear that? Hear what? I jump on the aft castle and rush the last sailor currently at the tiller, no, it's called a wheel, and slice his throat open in passing before burying a hand in Moise's chest. Just as expected, I need to stab behind the heart instead of the organ itself, then it's easier to go through the ribs. I flip on myself and throw a dagger at Wallace. The ship lurches and my throw misses. This gives the captain enough time to take out a pistol and a cross. With one hand I snap the pistol away and with the other, I crush his hand around the Christian symbol. It only works if you believe it, you imbecile. Truly pathetic. I can hardly believe that those idiots exist on the same plane of existence as Sinead. The world is vast indeed. Do what you will, monster, I'll see you soon in the depth. Uncaring, I almost take his entire head away. How is that for a witty retort? Mistress, the wheel. Dalton erupts from below and sprints to the aft kessel. Ah yes, the corpse of the sailor dragged the wheel to the side and now we are heading towards the ocean. My vassal replaces the deceased, what was it called? Ah yes, a helmsman. He rolls the thing right and soon we realign. And not a moment too soon. From the other ship, a whistling sound comes accompanied by bells and the yells of men. We are discovered. I should have been more careful. If the ship had not changed course, we wouldn't have. Dalton, why are you wearing a tricorn? No time. Mistress, go to the foremast and unfurl the sails. Which one is the foremast? The front one. And what's unfurling? Loosen them so they expand and catch the wind. I grumble my way and untie overly complicated knots, moving left and right like some accursed monkey. Disgraceful. I am a vampire, not a bloody deckhand. Brace. From the maiden comes the boom of cannons and a terrible whistling noise. A moment later projectiles fly over us and rip into the sea, except one which smashes into our side with a groan of shattering wood. Bloody hell! They are firing on us. I exclaim. 1 minute, a sailor, and you're already swearing? I slap my hand on my mouth. No. Unfurl the other one, mistress, I think Loth is about ready. I jump again and repeat the previous unknotting, silently this time. Just as I free the last one, a gun roars from below deck. Was that us? Ahoy! He's enjoying this far too much. The cannonball curves elegantly and maims the side of our opponent just at the limit of the sea line. Loth timed his shot perfectly, just as we were cresting a wave. The wind is picking up, mistress, you need to reef the sails. Did I not just unfurl them? And what does a reef have to do with anything? Just do what I say. Arg! I follow his indication, all the while pestering against all those complicated words and Dalton's suggestions. No, vassal, I do not want to be the bosun. But vampirates. Think about it. No. Loth fires once more, from a different gun this time, and his aim is true. Another hole appears, slightly higher. This was too fast for a single man. I understand now, they loaded all 4 cannons while I was cleaning house. Smart. It also means that once we are out it will take an eternity to reload. Brace. The maiden fires another broadside. This time no less than 3 cannonballs rack our flank, one of them clipping a mast. It's only a matter of time now. Dalton still does his best to keep us more or less facing them, but they are faster and it seems that their plan is working. In order to stay aligned, we are turning right. Or was it starboard? Whatever. Soon, we will enter shallow waters and possibly run ourselves into some rocks, or we will have to turn left and let them fire on us without returning it. Loth's third shot bounces on the surface of the sea and damages their railings, but nothing more. From the depth, a roar of anger and mixed English and vulgar complaining about garbage pig iron, and inbred manufacturers shakes the night. I am about to despair in the middle of reefing the other sail when I notice that our foe is starting to lurch. Those accursed sea dogs are taking water. Ha ha! Seriously. Loth's last shot strikes the front of the hull and adds another leak. It seems to be the tipping point. The Red Maiden slows down and we start to overtake her. Then I hear screams. It appears that I made new allies. Silhouettes crawl over the tilted deck and slay distracted sailors while the rest ineffectually attempt to stem the tide of water invading their hull. The battle is won. Nirari. Offering. This fishman is a fishwoman now that I take the time to look. She distinctly lacks breasts, but her form is definitely feminine, especially around the middle. Her face is also thinner and more delicate. She is the one who threw the trident at me, a weapon now lying on the ground as a gesture of peace. She was the first to timidly climb up our side, soon followed by the rest of the raiding party, and now kneels in the position of the supplicant. I want to tell her that if they manage to keep up with a ship for that long they can just take the bodies and go, because I am not swimming after them to extract payment. The language barrier is a real obstacle, however. I sigh and look at my companions. What are you two even drinking? The men are passing along a bottle of aged glass with blurred contents. Dalton is still wearing the accursed tricorn and refuses categorically to remove it. Aged rum from the Guadeloupe. A delicacy. It will put hair on your chest. Don't you think you should remain sober at least until we reach the land? Let us celebrate this victory, lass. Also, it's rude to let a lady wait, you know. Even if she is half fish. Just as Cousin Gramling used to say, don't let the wet lady go to waste. Loath. Seriously, refusing offered blood is rude, pretty sure. Means you think her unworthy and what not. Despite the decidedly dubious explanation, he is right. I should honor her offer. It's just that. No matter, it should be fine. Yes, totally fine. Her blood cannot be that potent. I bite. She tastes less of the hunt than her packmate. Hers is tradition, direction, and quite likely magic. I lick the wound clean and they're on their way. Right. No more idiotic pranks. We head back with Hugh serious. And decorum. Absolutely, lass, we'll do it right proper. And that's a promise. 1 hour later. There were 2 lofty ships from Old England came, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. One was the Prince of Luther, and the other Prince of Wales, cruising down along the coast of the High Barbary. Aloft there, aloft. Our jolly Dalton cries, blow high, blow low. And so sailed we. Look ahead, look astern, look aweather and alee, look along down the coast of the High Barbary. There's not upon the stern, there's not upon the lee, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. But there's a lofty ship to windward, and she's sailing fast and free, sailing down along the coast of the High Barbary. Oh, hail her, oh, hail her, our dread vampire cried, blow high, blow low. And so sailed we. Are you a man-o'-war or a privateer? Said she, cruising down along the coast of the High Barbary. Oh, I am not a man-o'-war nor privateer, said he, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. But I'm a salt-sea pirate a-looking for my feet, cruising down the coast of the High Barbary. Oh, 'twas broadside to broadside a long time we lay, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. Until the Prince of Luther shot the pirate's hull away, cruising down along the coast of the High Barbary. Oh, quarter, those pirates then did cry, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. But the quarter that we gave them, we fed them to the fishmen, coming down along the coast of the High Barbary. Damn it, lass, I love you dearly, but you really can't sing for shit. Chapter 43. After Dalton had his fun, Loth takes over and gets us moored or anchored or whatever it is called to the Clarkson Cove Pier. Nobody in the tiny port town even reacts to the obvious signs of battle damage, and I am reminded that this nation is at war with a naval power. Privateers and raided merchants are almost an everyday occurrence. There are even talks of ships fighting duels, one-on-one, as if they were champions of old. Loth heads out to the city of Black Harbor to scout it while Dalton and I leave to meet up with Isaac. I spend the day slumbering and at nightfall, leave him in our carriage behind to sprint across the land. I move faster than a galloping horse, and a trip that could have taken a day took me only 2 hours. When I arrive at the inn Isaac decided upon, I find it surrounded by a modest but orderly military camp. The mercenaries on guard do not challenge me. Instead, they direct me to the building's main room, where I find Vennet and Isaac with several officers surrounding a map of the surrounding states. Do you have it, Ariane? The men turn and notice me. I left the mask to my side behind but kept the rest. We are reaching the end of this play, and I expect us to fight at any time. They're nervous, but not the shifty nerves of the pirates. They know that they face a creature against whom their training would not suffice. This grants me a modicum of apprehension tinged with respect. Yes. The wreck is 1 day away from the city of Black Harbor. We asked and located it. It's here. I place a black claw on the map, at coordinates we confirmed with Clarkson's Cove-only cartographer. There is more. The Brotherhood captured the first mate some time ago. They probably know where it is. Vennet and Isaac share a glance. Well, this complicates matters. We have confirmed that the British have landed in Shreveport Minor, here. He points at the map, suspiciously close to Black Harbor. It is likely that the small port could not handle an expeditionary force of this size and decided to go to a bigger port to unload troops and equipment. There is no doubt that this is the work of ascendancy. How many? By our estimates, 800 plus field artillery. 100 horses. It takes all my experience to school my face into displaying no emotion. I cannot face those numbers plus their mages, even in a war of attrition. And you will not have to. You will be pleased to know that Mr. Fillmore has been found guilty of abduction and other heinous crimes. He was quietly retired and the shame proved too much. I'm afraid he took his own life. Isaac's voice is filled with regret, a performance I am personally impressed with. It conflicts beautifully with the air of smugness he affects. Like a cat who has found the bird's nest. Note to self, the consortium can retire and kill off a governor in 1 week flat. Following this unfortunate event, you and Loth have received a full pardon and we can now draw on the strength of the local military. Match their troops with our own. I took the liberty of mobilizing the 4th Regiment of Line and the Georgia Militia. I will sign their marching order as soon as this conversation is over, and our plan set up. Mr. Vennet, how do you see us proceeding? We should link up with the Army and force march to Black Harbor. If we take the field first, we can set up defenses and force ascendancy into a disadvantageous attack. Time is on our side since they can't get supplies easily, and if we have to attack them first, the Napoleonic War veterans will chew through our green troops like a hot knife through butter. My men can form a solid corps, but there is only 100 of us and the locals won't trust us. You are mistaken on the last point, Vennet. Time is not on our side. This is not a battle for land but for an artifact. The first one to get it wins, no matter if his army is decimated in the process. With all due respect, sir, with all due respect, nothing. If the Herald gets his hands on the box, we lose. I do not have to explain myself to you, I need you to trust me on this. Very well, sir. Our initial plan remains the same then, however we will need to apply constant pressure on their forces so that they cannot send searching parties. This will be difficult. I believe I can assist with this. I will have reinforcements from irregulars. I add. Isaac raises a brow in a public display of curiosity. The Choctaw and the Muskogee will fight by our side. We don't need help from savages. HSSSS. Silence. Isaac coughs slightly to lift the tension. I agree with Ariane of the Nirari, Mr. Vennet, we need all the help we can beg, borrow or steal. The land around Black Harbor is heavily wooded and native fighters will be of tremendous help. Vennet agrees reluctantly. His pride is misplaced, for beggars cannot be choosers. To summarize, Mr. Vennet and myself will link up with the army and make our way to the wreck by the most direct route. In the meanwhile, you shall gather Loth of Scarag and whatever irregulars you can gather and join us. If possible, delay them. They are closer to the wreck than we are. Is this agreeable? I appreciate the courtesy and signify it with a minute nod, which he immediately mirrors. It is, then I shall be on my way. I stand facing the thorn wall at the edge of my dream fortress. I managed to warn Neshoba of my need to speak by thinking about him, his blood, his eyes when we first met. I also touched the earrings he gave me before succumbing to torpor. The result is that I can feel him through the wall, and he has not yet managed to establish a connection. I feel a vague sense of frustration, then of energy rising and rising, then of being released all at once. Finally, there is peace and the way opens. When I am done crossing the fog barrier, I find him in the middle of a pine forest playing with a cone. He is dressed in dark leather and his face is painted in fearsome colors. A war club lays by his side and a quiver on his shoulder. His laughing dark eyes peer at me from under thick dark hair. Just like Dalton, Nashoba has grown a lot since I first met him. What took you so long? What happened? I could not fall asleep to come see you, so I, asked Tanami for help. Tanami? That is a girl's name. Oh, I did not need to know that. Why are you so squeamish, daughter of thorn and hunger? You should make love too, it will soothe your spirit. Keep going and I'll soothe your spirit forever. Tut-tut, one cannot deny the needs of the body and stay in balance. But that is a discussion for later. Time is upon us, I know. I am leading my war band to you. It is already assembled? Nashoba takes a thoughtful expression. His acting is terrible. Have I ever mentioned that I could see the future? I am polite and respectful and would never be caught dead uttering the term smartass. It did, however, cross my mind. Then I will depart before you bequeath any more wisdom upon me, O Great One. Before you do, Ariane, I wanted to thank you. I knew I could count on you. You know what, the key that breaks needs to be triggered. Our people are currently scattered and vulnerable. We lack Nightwalkers to face this menace and the tools to warn everyone. If we fail now, the carrier can disappear in our lands and carve a path of destruction across the land before they can be stopped, if they can even be stopped at this point. You really are my only hope in this junction. I pray the spirits that we succeed. I will see you soon. The curtain of cloud falls on me. The village is completely deserted. The smell of carrion spreads from cattle slain in their own fields and left to rot. The houses stand empty of light, broken doors and blood trails, the silent witnesses of the horrors of war waged on the defenseless. In the distance, a dog howls dejectedly. Where are the people? Asks Dalton in a low voice. I point at the burnt husk of a church. Thin smoke and trails of ash stream in the wind and carry with them the scent of cooked meat. Why would they do that? This is their main foraging party. Perhaps they did not want to leave anyone to relay their presence. It seems extreme, even by Brotherhood standards. I nod. This is the second depopulated hamlet we have come across while following the trail of the British horse. Well, either them or a 100-strong group of bandits sprouted out of nowhere and decided to devastate the countryside, which is practically impossible. We will find the Ascendancy expedition at the end of this path. Dalton is showing signs of exhaustion. He has been working both day and night this past week, only catching sleep here and there. Watching his darkened eyes, the stubble on his cheeks and the strain in his voice causes me to feel unsettled. I am reminded that he is, for all his qualities, just a mortal man. He is vulnerable. A simple mistake may cost him his life, and tiredness makes men prone to them. I need to keep him away from danger until he can rest. I wish I could turn him. I would lose a competent vassal, but I would gain a friend. Alas, it is simply impossible. It took me only 1 year to become a courtier when most take around 2, and that was already a record. I can't remember how many times I almost died again during that period. Assuming I keep the same growth, it will take another 40 years to become a master myself, and that would make Dalton over 65. He would be an old man, if he even survives that long. Perhaps I should ask Jimena if her clan is looking for a valuable candidate. No, then he would not be one of mine anymore. I will not share. I am at a loss. Loth mentioned it on the day we met, the ephemeral nature of mortal life. He said that being with someone who would not age made a difference. I believed that the loss of his loved ones had taxed his undying mind, and yet the same fear now grips me. What is wrong, mistress? You will die before me. Ah, I replied without thinking. Am I being too uncouth? Yes, mistress, I would hope so. I cannot change you. I am too young. I do not want to be changed. Really? I thought. Dalton shakes his head. Loth told me more about what the change means. It is irrelevant to you now, but not to me. I do not want to become a vampire. You will grow old and die. Yes, as did my ancestors before me. Mistress, you are letting the future ruin your present. Cherish the instant and let the memories you create now accompany you throughout the centuries. For example, look at what we found. he adds with a smile. In front of us, the road descends into a wooded valley currently specked with campfires. Rows of orderly tents cover the ground in a sprawling mass. A river cuts the plain in two and separates us from the major parts of their forces. A bridge joins both sides, and upon it, looted wagons loaded with supplies cross at a snail's pace. It appears that we found the expedition, my dear vassal. At this moment, the bridge explodes in a deafening conflagration, sending horses, carriages and men into the air. Pieces of masonry smash into tents and cooking stations. Fiery embers in red and green ignite supplies, and the night soon fills with screams and cries. And we found Loth as well. How convenient. We just caught the tail of the foraging party and the explosion caught its head. A dozen men are on the ground, unmoving, while the rest are struggling to maintain control of their mounts or running around without purpose. The chaos is simply marvelous. I try to capture the moment in my mind so that I can commit it to a canvas at a later point. Just as I think the scene could not possibly be improved, a tall, dark figure emerges from the thickets behind the rearguard. The man stands proudly, clad in a strange-looking black armor like a barbarian of old, and with a voice that covers the field, it cries, "Up yours, you fucking wankers!" Wonderful. If unnecessarily vulgar. In case the message was not convincing enough, Loth shoulders his monstrosity of a rifle, lines a shot and takes out the head of an officer trying to keep his men together. Quite literally. When he starts running, there are already more than 30 men trailing him. I am sure he has a plan, nevertheless I shall run to the rescue. I will hide the carriage. I nod, put on my mask and move around the already nervous horses. No need to make them panic. Before me lies a wooded area, then the road Loth disappeared on. Furious riders spur their mounts there. I can see them through the branches. Now that I am paying attention, those are mostly auxiliary troops, probably drawn from the local Brotherhood ranks. No red coats, and there's also something feral about them. They spur their mounts with more rage than sense, apparently unworried that the man who caught them in such a deadly trap would attempt to do so again. Imbeciles. I run parallel to them into the forested area with ease born out of constant practice. I decide not to overtake them, as being closest to Loth right now is an unhealthy proposition. As expected, the road broadens into an open field ending in a steep hill. The path forward turns back towards the river, and stands empty. As no one is in sight, the herd of men slows down, and only now do the least dim-witted members realize their predicament. Their cries of "back!" is covered by my friend's deafening roar. Fire. A line of muskets opens from the slope. The shooters are smartly camouflaged among stones and vegetation, and I am quite surprised to see 24 of them. Where did he even find those men? Another officer arrives in the clearing just as the Brotherhood soldiers ineffectually exchange shots with their well-entrenched foes. His attempt at sorting the mess is interrupted by another one of Loth's flawless shots. Despite this, a few combatants still on horse are looking to escape. The first ones are already galloping back. That won't do at all. Time to show them why you don't use a horse when expecting to face a vampire. I stand on the dirt path. The head rider sees me and turns to run me down. Cute. Below the surface, the monster stirs. The part of me that always wants to dominate, to tear and to destroy, the part that I always keep in check because it does not care for what I can actually achieve, this part of me, I finally let loose. Pathetic weaklings. Idiots. Unworthy of being even hunted. Learn of your place, as you die. Roar. I catch the exact moment when the lead rider's pupils contract to a pinprick. The small intake of breath as realization strikes. His horse reeling in panic, soon imitated by all the others. Yes. This is my time. For the next minute, I can just let go. Claws into chest. Throw body. Red trail. Next prey. Cleave. Shear. Stab. Swipe. Tear and gore and slice and more. Always more. One behind trying to flee into the trees. Slow and cumbersome and pathetically awkward. Jump after. Roots and trunks are not obstacles, just convenient nooks for me to angle myself, position for the next strike. This is my territory. All of it. Crack the spine, then return. Scythe my way through their scattered numbers. The last survivors have formed a turtle formation which I circle. I plant myself on their way. They fire their pistols. I fall to dodge and stand back up in a smooth motion. Who are you to oppose the coming of the new light? Screams a puny vermin. Will not waste words on dead men. I rush forward, slide under their blades. No runes in this plane will let them match the speed of a devourer. Crash into them and send men flying. Whirlwind of blood and limbs. The survivors run in every direction, a few steps before I take them apart. The last one raises pleading hands. No. As the corpse shivers on the ground, I take in my surroundings. Bodies and the moans of the dying. The air is heavy with the reek of gunpowder, excrement and their feeble blood. Hold fire. Loth struts down the slope with absolute confidence. His heavy black armor does not slow him one bit, which would surprise his men if they knew how much it weighs. A bunch of tough fighters slowly emerges from the bushes with no small amount of apprehension. They truly are a motley bunch from all ages and sizes. The only thing they have in common is long beards and dirty cloth that merge in their surroundings. There is even a one-eyed grandpa with an actual monkey on his shoulders. Is this a carnival or a battle? As I consider the assembly, Loth stops a few steps away from me and slowly, his followers form a half-circle behind him. Their guns and blades are pointed at me, though seeing the fear in their eyes, they know perfectly well how much good it will do. Nobody says a word. The tension makes them fidget. Beads of sweat drip down their foreheads, and a few of the most desperate ones even found God, if their prayers are any indication. After having his fun, Loth's scowl turns into a merry smile. Nice showing, lass. Now where is Mr. Posh and his merry band? I slowly incline my head, but I do not answer. Loth wants to play the crowd. So will I. Blood drips from my talons onto the ground. Slowly. Drip, drip. Before the first of his men have heart attacks, I reply. Perhaps it is the moment, or perhaps the darker part of me is still close to the surface. My voice is sultry and dangerous. I left them behind, did not want to miss the fun. The thugs relax. Ariane, let me present to you the Band of the Crow, merriest pack of bloodthirsty privateers this side of the Atlantic. Pirates? This did not work so well last time. The thugs tense. Oh, don't ye worry, I think they will obey just fine. They don't want to end like Big Pete. Big Pete? Their former leader, the head of Black Harbor City by mandate of Jean Lafitte himself. I mentioned the incoming invasion and he questioned my credibility and my honor. Was quite unpleasant about it as well. We had words. Let me guess. Some of those were on my eyes. Quite so. Good. Then I do not have to elaborate on what I will do to them should they step out of line? Indeed not. Excellent. The thugs relax. I'm a bit thirsty though, I could use a dessert. The thugs tense. This is fun. Unfortunately, Loth objects to me eating his allies, and so I leave to get Dalton. The rest of the night is spent watching over them as they rest, and preparing for the next day. It is day. The vengeful orb courses across the skies. Under its vigilant gaze, all that does not belong is purged away, made vapor and ash. In the half-tamed land, two furious foes struggle for supremacy. The first is a mighty lion. Its glorious mane shines golden, and its arrogance is unmatched. It prowls through the land without fear, but behold! A lean and dark wolf jumps from the underbrush and bites its leg. The king is hurt but not vanquished, far from it in truth. It roars and challenges its opponent. The wolf will not answer. It is a thing of speed and momentum. It will not let itself be drawn. Again and again, the two meet and the nimble overtakes the strong. And yet the wounds remain insignificant because its size is great indeed. And see! The lion spits fire in great gouts. The wolf is hurt. It flees. The feline follows it to its lair. The struggle grows desperate. Suddenly the light dims. The sun sets. It is time. Time for what? Time for me. The sarcophagus opens and I jump out like a devil out of its box. Fire whip. My silver dagger flashes out and the fiery line wraps around it and tries in vain to consume its prey. The blade twists and flashes and breaks the spell. A mage screams in pain in the torched remains of Loth's tent. My sarcophagus is marred by impacts and shocks, and yet it remains inviolate. I grab the mage by the throat. He is wearing the red uniform of the British. Utter panic deforms his features. "Your time is up," I whisper, and bite down. I devour him in moments, but my thirst is far from sated. I did not feed yesterday, and expended a lot of energy. Loth barrels into the enclosed space. Only when he sees me does he show anything but dread. "Tar lass, we could use some help. Here, I managed to finish what you asked." He hands me 3 small spheres with a little needle pointing out. "How do they work?" "Blood trigger. Prick yourself and throw. The enchantment should hold for another few hours." I nod and without a word, come out. The tent was raised under the canopy of a great oak at the edge of tilled fields. Bare earth littered with bodies spread all around me, some clad in red, some clad in pirate leather, but most in the undyed cotton I associate with farmers. A few German-style houses in the distance hint at the existence of a larger village. In the middle of a scorched circle stand 2 men in red coat equipped with metallic gloves and belts filled with strange implements. Mages. An infantry squad of around 20 men has formed around them and fires in the distance at shapes hidden behind fences and low walls. Return fire pings uselessly against a transparent barrier, to the pirates' cries of dismay. A ruddy man with sergeant stripes approaches one of the mages and screams in his ears. "Sir, remember our orders. For the last time, Crespin, you will stop whining or I will have you demoted. We are on the verge of death." When my voice echoes on the plain, both sides stop firing and the soldiers reform in fearful silence to face me. I smell the tantalizing musk of fear in the air. But those past few days have been filled with bloodshed, one battle after the other. I can smell the dried blood on the dress which is starting to show signs of damage. Even my mask is stained by layers of caked red. "She's bluffing, she can't stop us. It's just a legend," says the first mage, a brash young man with a waxed mustache and black hair. "Liar, liar, I can hear your little heart pounding away the delectable liquid. You know what you did." The second mage, a portly young man, does not answer. The sergeant licks his lips. His eyes dart left and right like a drowning man looking for salvation. "None will come tonight. I am just waiting for them to unload a volley. It will be more convenient to dodge now than when I work on their shield. They can't be that powerful. It's just stories. Look." Without using his gloved hand, he takes out a pistol and fires it. The powder fizzles and the shot fails. Awkward. The sergeant snarls and takes out his own gun. I see the trajectory and do not move an inch when the bullet buzzes angrily by my head, making a few errant strands of hair shiver. They collectively take one step back. Pathetic. Truly pathetic. Super specimen. Poor hunt. I prick my finger and throw the metal sphere into their shield. It sticks to the transparent surface and with a noise of brittle glass, a half-sphere crystallizes. A breath later my silver dagger punches through it. The whole defense shakes and falls apart with a shrill cry of the portly mage. "Got you." The other mage's face shows incredulity as I remove it from his shoulders. Next are the soldiers. Skulls and rib cages are hard, so I stab them. Throats are soft, so I swipe them. Arterial blood paints a darker red on the washed-out carmine of their uniforms. They fall where they are while reloading or while striking. Some fall with their backs to me. Some I kill as they pray to God, some as they call their mothers. It does not matter, they all fall. The sergeant now faces me with the youngest soldier behind him. He points his saber in my direction, but his eyes are filled with manic fear. "Please, he's just a boy." The one behind him is very young, perhaps as young as Dalton when I picked him. I point at my mask with a bloody talon. Is this the face of mercy? The veteran's pleadings turn into a mask of steely resignation. "Come on, boy, stand up. The one behind him cries hot tears and yet he still obeys. Courage. Worthy ones. Their essence will make me strong. This was a good hunt. I make it quick and feed from the older man only. No time to indulge. When I am done, Loth and my vassal are waiting at a respectful distance. His men are hiding far behind and none will meet my gaze. Fitting. Yes? Sorry for the rude wake-up call. Our camp was overrun and we only attacked and took it back at nightfall. Loth is in his black armor, not the steam-powered one. Dalton is wearing a lighter version showing a few impacts. They look rough around the edges and more than a bit tired. The sarcophagus held. Naturally, Loth scoffs, those amateurs could not pierce it in 100 years. My resting place being disturbed makes me feel uncomfortable. Find nest. Take over. No, this is not the time to hide. I can do this later. We are 5 miles from Black Harbor and we've been harassing their column for the whole bloody day. They haven't been able to reckon or gather much supplies. This was their best effort to take us out in fact, but on the other hand that's it. We're spent. If Isaac's men are not in position by the time Ascendancy arrive, we're done. I can't fight no more and neither can those lads. Already had to execute 2 deserters. Understood, I shall go there myself. We're all going. The men need to rest anyway. Tire, what a mess. I grab my belongings, sew my weapons and mask. The rest of it is out there somewhere. Like the paintings. It does not feel that important anymore. Loth guides me to a side path. The others, including Dalton, follow us at a distance. In my vassal's case it is due to exhaustion, but I am not here to coddle him. As long as he is not in danger he can look after himself. Competent vassal. Will rest while I kill. I am going back to the old country after this lass. Loth looks at me curiously. How many people have you killed in the past week? I don't know. I cannot remember. Can't tell. Hey? That means it's been going for too long. You said you were leaving? Yes, after this is done. I will not rebuild. I have transferred all my stuff to warehouses on the coast. The Rosenthal will carry them east for me. I'm going home. It is time. That is good for you. Is it not? Aye, it is. How about ye? Any plan? No, and I know what you are trying to do. I'm not going rogue. Stop trying to distract me. All right. Oh, look. They made it. We go over the crest of a hill to see where the war for the Gate of Beria will be fought. A natural harbor extends in front of us in all its dark beauty. A village of respectable size is nestled at its end with a few fishing ships moored to its pier. Opposite us, on a rocky promontory, stands a heavily protected stone fort. Only a single open path leads to it, devoid of any cover and on a slope for a good few 100 yards. I see the black maws of a few cannons from where I stand. It would take an army to dislodge its occupants. Or one vampire. A lone flag I do not recognize floats lazily in the night wind. Further inland, tilled fields form an open plain large enough to accommodate the army camping on it. I recognize the American flag in front of some of the tents and a particularly well-ordered enclave that must be Isaac's mercenaries. The distance between the fort and the army camp gives the impression of our side laying siege. Well, at least they're here. We should let them know we have arrived and that the Brotherhood is almost here as well. With a full contingent of mages. Pricks. Language. Fuck off. You do realize you are one of the few people on the planet who can say that and keep their insides on the inside, right? I would not risk it otherwise. This is fine, I can save all this frustration and put it to good use. Very soon. We leave the pirates behind and take a road leading to the camp. Dalton leaves to stumble to Vennett's tents while we reach the main entrance guarded by 2 men. The officer's tent is clearly visible in the distance as the largest one. The first sentries spot us. Halt. In the name of... I capture their minds and slap them like insects. Back off. They take an involuntary step back. I have no time for this. I make my way forward with Loth in tow. I can hear his soft chuckle as men fall silent in shock and surprise at our sight. I know he is intimidating in his black armor, and that I am covered in blood. An angry-looking old corporal steps up to bar our way. "We're with Venet," I simply say, and push on the uncertainty he feels. Yes, working here like I belong and my mannerisms only give credence to my claims. I step inside the tent before he can react. And through a detection circle. Around a table with a large map stand a small assembly. Two men in the blue uniform of the army, and passably annoyed as well, form one group. Venet stands impassible in the middle while a curious trio forms the second one. They are mages, wearing gloves and a coordinated set of green leathers. There is an old man with an extremely long beard and a scholarly air, a strange person who appears to have shaven every inch of his skin and, to my surprise, a young woman with curly auburn hair. As I enter, the soldiers look up with exasperation quickly tempered by apprehension. Venet closes his eyes in anticipation of something bad and the three collectively jump like a bunch of frightened cats. "Shit! Damn it!" exclaim the two young ones. The old man only tries to discreetly incline his staff in my direction while fighting down an intense panic. "That won't do. You won't be able to cast that spell before I shove that staff down your throat." He relents and swallows with difficulty. Clammy sweat covers their brows as they collectively look for a way out of this predicament. Ah, I know how it feels to be at the mercy of a creature renowned for lacking anything of the sort. When it happened to me, I was cheaply bargained into slavery. And them. It will not be needed. I already know why they are here. Mage groups must have conflicting interests, like we do. This cadre of spellcasters is on our side. I return my attention to Venet, but before I can ask anything the ranking officer interrupts us. "Madam, please state the reason of your presence and then leave us. This is a war council." At least he did not tell me that courtesans belong with the camp followers. Progress, I suppose. He is even quite handsome in a sharp kind of way. His uniform is well worn and covers a tall and wiry body. Light brown hairs are gathered in a neat tail reaching his shoulder. Two deep-set brown eyes stare at me from the top of an aquiline nose, shining with intelligence and a knowledge that something is wrong. Loth steps by my side and tells a succinct report on the enemy troop composition and position. I do not really pay attention as this is nothing new to me. After his report is done, the officer does not show a single sign of emotion. His assistant, a smaller man with dirty blonde hair and fat jowls, takes a discreet step away, anticipating some display of temper. "And who are you? What is this, a menagerie?" "Venet, if you expect me to believe this poppycock, you are sorely." "Ack." I interrupt the officer by moving in front of him and grabbing both he and his partner's throat. "I do not have time for this. You will believe us, or do you need a more convincing demonstration?" I let the two men struggle in vain for a few seconds, not expecting any answer, but I do not pursue. Isaac is coming, preceded by Azura. "Ah, I have been careless," he says as he pushes the fabric aside. The representative of the consortium is dressed like a gentleman at a hunting event. The contrast with us is rather obvious. "Shit, there's another one?" whispers the woman. "Yes, Ms. Merritt, there is another one. Please give me a moment with dear Colonel Strand here." "You too, Ariane, I will explain later." We dutifully file out, the mortals only too happy to be away from us. A minute passes and Isaac points his head out again. "Ms. Merritt, Mr. Culbert and Longdon, please join me." The trio looks at the tent, then at the camp, then at me, evaluate their chances of escape and wisely decide to head back in. Another minute later, Isaac invites the rest of us. Loth smirks when he sees the thunderstruck faces of the people inside. Colonel Strand looks like he has swallowed a whole lemon, skin included. "Very well, yes, very well. I had not planned to reveal my hand and forgot that you two were going to lack the, patience to try and find me first. Now that the different parties have been reminded of what is at stake, we should move forward with our main concern. Blackmail is in season, or is it just him? Even then, I don't see why we should work with bloodsuckers," blurts the female mage to her companion's consternation. Isaac gives a minute sign and his eyes flicker towards me, faster than they can perceive. It seems that our roles have been assigned for this play. I am more than happy to act as the Iron Fist, this time. Am I to understand that you refuse to contribute? I asked casually. The question hangs in the air for very little time before the older mage elbows his associate. Oh no, it's fine. Not the first time our order works together with Moan. I mean with vampires. For the greater good and all that. A vein starts slowly pulsing on the Colonel's temple. Can we get back to the matter at hand? Ian's first question is, where is the Brateria representative? The one from the fort. While Strand takes a deep, calming breath, his aide-de-camp answers in his stead. He refused to work with us, nor give us access to his fortress. He was quite rude about it too. I raise my eyes in annoyance. Apparently, our cause is not valid enough to garner support. It's just about the control of a weapon that can turn everyone around it into a murderous lunatic. Nothing too serious. I'll be right back. I emerge from the tent with a desire to kill them all and take over, for a bath. Yes. A warm bath. Calming. With the jasmine soap that is currently ash in Loth's burned down tent. Arg. Alright Ariane, calm down. We will whip this assortment of idiots in shape and prepare to receive the Brotherhood and everything will be fine. Yes, absolutely fine. I shall head up to the fortress and convince the man in charge of his interest to cooperate through a subtle mix of charm and diplomacy. Yes. Then, I'll find a tub and peel this blood-soaked dress from my delicate skin. Half an hour later. I strut back into the tent with the man in tow, kicking and screaming. Namdi-doo, let me go sorcier. Dire bless. Ah. I remove my claws from his neck, leaving 2 bloody imprints behind. These are the leaders of the army outside your gates. You will give them your full cooperation, or I'll do to you what I did to your bodyguard. Do we understand each other? Yes, Bonsang. Please just leave my soul alone. What? His soul. I don't even. Never mind. Only if you serve us well. If you don't, I may just strip it from your blackened heart and feed it to a demon. Do not disappoint me. The man nods, but as soon as the good colonel recovers enough from his surprise to ask how many soldiers he has at his disposal, all my efforts are undone. And why should I share this information with a government dog? The clicks of my claws on the planning table resound in the silence that follows. Once I have his attention, I position one talon perpendicular to the surface and dig it into the table. Slowly. Our newest addition considers the sound of tortured wood for a brief moment. A bit above 70 fighting men. Now that wasn't too hard, was it? A bit more and I'll have all of my supposed allies actually trying to stop a madman from playing God with some eldritch artifact, and wouldn't that be nice? The rest of the meeting is spent coordinating tomorrow's battle. Isaac is certain that the Herald will look down on our troops and force an attack, and so soldiers are arranged near the fort. It is decided to leave the village uninvolved to avoid unnecessary civilian casualties. The army will be drawn along a line facing towards the Brotherhood expedition, with its right flank anchored at the pirate fortress and the left consisting of Venet's battle-hardened veterans. The center consists of militia and regulars in 2 columns with a solid reserve. The leaders use knives planted in the map to show where they will position themselves, which I find quaint. Loth even borrows one of my silver knives to indicate that he will be coordinating artillery strikes from the fort itself. Isaac brought him his cannon and enough ammunition for a bit of fun. With little left to do before dawn, I leave the soldiers behind to recover the sarcophagus, clean and prepare. Just as I depart, Stramp's aide looks regretfully at the forest of blades and the finger-sized hole in his furniture. My table. Our side knows its first casualty. Chapter 44. Perhaps due to my deep concern, or simply by chance, I find myself at the heart of my mental palace. The Watcher's tendrils float outside, more animated than usual. The fire in the master bedroom's hearth brings no comfort. I want to see. I need to see. For the first time, I live the incapacitation that comes with a day as the burden it is. I will spend almost 10 hours in slumber, during which my friends and allies will fight, bleed and die, and there is absolutely nothing I can do to change it. I need to see. Show me. Show me. A tendril of purple flashes by the window and I feel a tug. I get out into the main hall and walk down the stairs. Twin reinforced doors open before me. The garden is as strange and beautiful as always, filled with unknown essences and strange rocks. I pace through its hidden alcoves and false paths with a familiarity born out of intimate knowledge. We are in my mind and the place I am going to now, I have never seen before. Curtains of thorny roots part to reveal a small circular pond. Trees curve inward and mask it from the outside. Its placid surface only reflects the eye above, and the black void surrounding it. The reflection is just as strange as the original, but not quite as mesmerizing. It is like watching the sun through darkened glass. The blinding glare is tamer, though still as majestic. Show me. The reflection blurs and changes in a kaleidoscope of shapes and colors. I lean closer and the pond swallows me whole. A tall man emerges from the seas, walking leisurely as if the army arrayed against him was of no concern. Dark shapes swim behind as witness to the bloodshed to come. His black hair and beard are plastered against his golden skin and his dark eyes glint with dismissive amusement. An armor the color of the depths emerges from below and enshrouds his powerful form just as the first of his opponents spots him. The last thing they see of his face is the glint of 8 cruel fangs before his body is encased in nightmarish plates and monstrous scales. On the shore, a small army has gathered. 200 men and women heavily armed with bows, guns and gauntlets. Their colorful robes and armors come from another age, with glowing auras and shiny runes pushing back the darkness of the night. Around them, formations and circles have been dug to stop, defend, and empower. They're ready. Fire. From the ranks of fighters, a flurry of projectiles erupts. Arrows, bullets, spears and stones. Spells in beautiful shades of blue and gold. They curve across the sky like a charging horde and descend upon the man. He raises a hand. 3 concentric circles of red runes form in the air, then he closes his fist. A blade of purple and crimson is born. It smashes through the collective offensive like the tide through a sandcastle. The curse travels back and hits the carefully erected shields. Layers upon layers are burned through in an effort to stop the onslaught. Men and women fall to their knees with bleeding eyes and screaming voices. Those behind stop their offense to join the defenders. Finally, the hex fizzles. Behind the army, an old man in an elaborate dress raises an arm holding a stylized lock. At his feet, a complex rune formation ignites, mirrored under his dark armored foe. Unbeknownst to the mage, the tall man points 2 fingers down and black runes encircle his wrist, a twisted mirror to the spell thrown at him. For the first time, he stops. The circles around him flash silver. At the same time, a woman in a red tunic sends forth a screaming scarlet orb and a couple in grey lamellar armor rush him from the sides. The fire hits, just as the man's black claymore cuts through his target's throat and the woman's foil stabs his heart. And then the decoy collapses. Eyes turn to the mage in robes, but too late. Already his corpse is held aloft and his blood drained. The man in dark armor throws it aside and extends his arms, wrists together. A construct like a black tree erupts from them. Where its gnarly branches hit, combatants fall with their bodies mummified as if they had been years in the desert. The spell turns red with absorbed life force and is soon changed into a massive scythe. It impacts the red woman's defenses and scatters them. The man in grey armor surges forward and his foe steps back before countering with a deadly spell. The knight collapses. His companion lunges, but her strike rakes against an obsidian gauntlet. The same gauntlet lashes out and takes her head. The witch in red is interrupted in her next spell. She stares with disbelief at the blade in her gut. With this, resistance collapses. The vampire lord bends down to devour the mage, and none stand before him. I pull out of the vision. Not this. I saw it before, I remember it now. Yes, Master has returned. I don't care. He is on some island and good riddance, I only miss him so much. No. I don't need him. I don't need anyone. Show me the bloody battle. Something strains and snaps, but I don't care and push on. Yes. It is here, around me. Noon. Ascendancy has finally finished their preparations and their infantry moves forward. The battle is joined, just as a horrible surprise comes to hit the morale of the defenders. Two frigates bearing the Union Jack emerge from a bend in the coast and immediately fire on the pirate fortress. Its elevated position protects it to an extent, but walls soon show the marks of damage as cannonballs punch through them. There is no return fire. All the guns are pointed inland. On the American right flank, the regiment of line faces its equivalent in furious combat. Men in blue uniform fire volley after volley from behind low walls, supported by a handful of 12-pounders. They face those who stop Napoleon's ambitions in their crimson uniforms and black hats. The same who stood fast from the sandy dunes of Egypt to Waterloo's dreary plains. The Red Line retaliates with accurate musket shots and the support of their own gun park, much larger. Worse, supporting artillery from the fort is made inaccurate by antiquated equipment and the ship's ceaseless assault. Despite their ordeal, the Continentals return blow for blow, just like their fathers did before them. The grounds are littered with dead and wounded, the air thick with smoke, and yet no side will relent. In the center, the battle is not going so well. Stramp's inexperienced militia panics and fires too early, long before their enemies are in effective range. Some of the bullets even fall short due to inept gun loading. The British rank stops at 50 paces and delivers one lethal volley. As the militia reels from the impact, the Red Line fixes bayonet and charges. The American rank disintegrates under their vigorous assault. The disciplined ranks of soldiers pushes their enemies away like insects. From the outside, they look like a single monster whose teeth spit lead. It pounced once, and now readies for the kill. Thankfully, the fleeing troops join and merge with their comrades in arms of the second line, solidly anchored along a ridge. The British advance is halted by accurate shots delivered under the orders of a screaming veteran officer who has seen worse blows and turned them aside. The main British group attempts to charge again, but the militia holds by the skin of their teeth, stabbing ahead at the deadly foe. The monster bleeds from 1,000 cuts, and after a furious melee, it is repulsed. Unfortunately for the defenders, the enemy general smells blood in the water and soon commits his reserves to the breach. From behind the reforming infantry, drums and fanfare herald the coming of a regiment of Highlanders, their elite reserves. They soon resume the attack with even greater ferocity. Less than 2 hours after the first shot was fired, the American army is at risk of being cut in half. On the left flank, the British advance is checked by deadly shots from Vennett's veterans. Their light gray uniform denotes them as an elite unit, and their opponents realize they are facing perhaps more than they can beat. Using number advantage, they attempt to form a half-circle around Isaac's own guard. Just as they reach optimal range, skirmishers erupt from everywhere and lay fire into the close-ranked troops. The British captain orders his men to charge, supported by what is left of their horse. The light troops on the flank are overrun, but just as the main rush reaches a small thicket, the sound of a mighty horn blares across the plain. The American cavalry detachment springs from the trees and meets its counterpart in merciless close-quarter combat. The red tide is thrown back but manages to retreat in good order. Vennett decides not to pursue, worried about his right flank. Then, the tide of battle turns. From the fort, a single cannon opens with a deafening roar and hits the lead frigate with inhuman accuracy. A second later, civilians huddling in the village hear mad screams about bullshit weather and dry storage my hairy ass. A second shot joins the first as the frigate captain realizes what is happening. He turns his ship away, too late. The third shell ignites. In a horrific conflagration, the ship's powder store is set ablaze by an incendiary projectile this world had never seen. The resulting fireball reddens the sky and boosts the morale of the defenders. At the same time, shots from the fortress becomes increasingly accurate under the expert motivation of a certain burger screaming incentives such as "My Uncle Gromer can shoot better and he's fucking blind." Or "Miss again and I'll shove you down the barrel head first, you absolute fucking walloper." The right flank is thus bolstered and holds fast. In the center, Strand's trap closes its steel jaws on the charging reserve. The devious colonel counted on his foe's disdain of the militia to force an assault in the center, and the enemy commander swallowed the bait hook, line and sinker. From the forest on the right, his elite regiment emerges to reinforce the beleaguered militia, while from the left comes a column of bloodthirsty privateers, charging the Highlanders like madmen. Undisciplined and unreliable they may be, but if there is anything you can count on, it is their irrepressible hatred of the English. Men in leather armed with sabers, pistols and axes close the short distance and assault the infantry's flanks. Sensing the trap, Ascendancy orders a general retreat under the cover of their flanks and concentrated artillery fire. Their men escape, but leave many wounded on the field. The day is won. Night comes. It hurts. My head is like in a vice. Why? Why? Is it because I pushed this? The ability to see what was going on. Not worth it, not worth it at all. I could have just waited, and now I am stuck with this devilish headache. Is this magical hangover? Curses. I push the top of the sarcophagus aside and find myself in Isaac's secure tent. Dalton is waiting anxiously with a bound man by his side. As soon as he sees me, his face turns horrified. Mistress? Are you all right? I attempt to rub my eyes, only to find something sticky. Blackish blood sticks to my fingers. It appears I bled from my eyes and ears. Oh joy! I cannot even be dead in peace. I'm fine. What happened? Later. Who is this? Remembering the prisoner by his side, Dalton pulls him up. The captive is a shifty fellow wearing the blue uniform of our allies. One of his eyes is closed by a spectacular bruise, and his hands are bound behind his back. His complaints are muffled by a gag, although his eyes move frantically from the sarcophagus. I can guess what is going through his mind. I knew that they must have infiltrated our ranks, so I kept my eyes open for suspicious behavior. This man was attempting to desert and join the enemy lines when I caught him. Oh, by the way, we won. I know. You do? I wave a hand dismissively. There is no time to explain. Did you bring him to be interrogated? Yes, and I believe Isaac wants your help with something. He woke up an hour ago. You may not have the time to hunt. With those words, my future breakfast panics in earnest. I hastily grab him before he can soil himself, as it would sour the air, and bite. A quick interrogation reveals that he himself knows nothing. He was only promised a large reward if he could report on our force and their location. Once I am done, Dalton signals outside and the body is carried out by board guards. I follow Dalton outside to Vennett's command tent and, to my surprise, find the three majors standing outside. Vennett himself is by their side. I beg you wait a while, Miss Ariane. My employer is having a meal. We had a few spies then. I turn my attention to the trio, with no small amount of curiosity. The older man stands with his eyes closed, and it takes but a few seconds to realize that he is, in fact, fast asleep. The woman who I remember is called Merritt looks confrontational, but her companion is fidgeting with curiosity. His complete lack of any sort of hair gives him the appearance of a circus freak, and his large eyes do not help. I might as well get acquainted with my allies. I have never talked to mages except to inform them how they will die. Yes? Are you a corpse? We are off to a great start. I ask because of humor. See, a corpse is filled with vile humor and is a carrier of diseases, so if you bite someone as a corpse you will make them sick, but at the same time your blood slave looks healthy, so it's probably not that anyway. I was just curious. Please don't eat me. He talks a lot about disease for someone afflicted with verbal diarrhea. Dalton is not my slave, he is a vessel. And I am not a corpse. I do not decay, nor will I ever. What if you die again? Seriously? We turn into ash. The man looks shocked. What about mosquitoes? Lice? We are magical creatures, you cretin. We do not have diseases or parasites of any kind. Even in your hair? Yes, even in our hair. Are all spellcasters maniacs, or are you just an extreme case? Don't mind Calvert, he is obsessed with cleanliness. Is this why he looks like a walking alchemical accident? She nods. He cleans his hands 17 times per day. You are sharing critical information with the enemy. Her companion hisses. The witch and I share a kindred moment between relatively sane people. I'm Merritt, by the way. Ariane. She scoffs and shakes her head in disbelief. I never thought I would one day speak with a legendary vampire. You are a thing of myth. It is said that to meet one is to meet death, and the cities you have taken over are black zones where to stay after dusk is to stay forever. And now I am talking to one. It is a rare opportunity for me also. I only ever shared but few words with mages. Truly. Yes, and they were along the line of Fire Whip. And please no. Merritt laughs lightly. Ha! Yeah, I suppose. Say, one girl to another. How do you get so many men to listen to you? Those old coachers always go about me learning my place and all. It is mostly Isaac's influence. We know each other from before, his trust in me gives me a measure of legitimacy. So it's because of the man, huh? She looks dejected. Find someone reliable to be on your side and you will not have to fight for recognition every step of the way, he will do it for you. How could I find such treasure? Not with your personality, that's for sure. Interjects Dalton. I knew he had not forgotten the blood slave comment. The woman's face turns ugly, and before her attempt at diplomacy is irredeemably damaged, I try to comfort her. A foe looking down on you acts carelessly, and the air of surprise they affect as they die is that much sweeter. This excellent observation on the nature of the universe is welcome with stunned silence. What? It's really solid advice. Born from personal experience. Ahem. Thank you for those kind words, I guess. Hold on, I have questions as well. Are you all part of a mage organization? Both mages exchange glances. The bald one only shrugs. Guess it does not hurt us to tell you. We're with Sanctuary, it's more like a vague alliance than a real thing. Not like those houses back in Europe. Langdon is our mentor. He's in charge when he is awake, so, not that often. Loth told me what little he knew about the mage population. They are the most numerous of the world's strange denizens, with easily 100,000 in the known world. Many only have a smidgen of power, but their trained soldiery is numerous and dangerous. There is a constellation of groups, lodges, secret societies, families, cartels and others with as many objectives and agendas as there are political affiliations. In a sense, they are the true representation of humanity. Insane cultists fight against devoted Christians who think their powers are a gift of God, while devious mastermind and police orders fight for control of local government. Loth's information is sparse, however, and I assume that there are some groups at the top. And you oppose the Brotherhood of the New Light? Well, yeah, the guys in charge decided that having a power-hungry lunatic in possession of an artifact capable of mass murder is a bad idea. Go figure. Common sense. I can scarcely believe my ears. Surely I am mistaken? That is sensible. It is, isn't it? Oh, it looks like it's our turn. Venet waves at us from the side of the tent and we joining, the sleepy mage being dragged in by his associates. A more detailed map of the area is laying on a table at its center. The ink is still wet. Good evening. Good evening. Yes. I apologize in advance if I seem abrupt, but time is short. As you know, we have managed to repel Ascendancy's main assault. I shall leave the management of the battlefield to our dear Colonel and focus on what is truly at stake. And by this I mean the key of Beria. Our good Venet as well as Sir Loth have noticed movements around Black Harbor Village as well as the beach, and so I am quite certain that the hunt for the relic is already underway. This is, of course, completely unacceptable. We rule the night, as they will soon remember. Ariane, I am counting on you, and you mages, please support her as best you can. The enemy has many spellcasters and we have not seen them today. Something is bound to happen. Our mortal allies take the end of the sentence as a dismissal and exit with record speed. I stay. How are you? Asks my host. I do not know. The past few weeks have been a constant fight against the Brotherhood and their influence. I find myself missing painting, or taking strolls through the woods at night. Anything to take my mind off my worries. I feel myself eroding under this unceasing pressure, losing depth, so to speak. We have a need for balance. Us more than most. When this is done, you should join me when I return to Savannah. We have need of someone of your talent and can give you shelter while you wait. It would be lucrative as well. Loth is going to Europe. It would be unwise for you to join him. Burger politics notwithstanding, you are technically a rogue and Europe is extremely policed compared to here. The risk would be high. I will think on it. Of course. And by the way, do you not think it strange that they would send patrols at night? Not really, no. I doubt that their information is reliable, after all. I see two possibilities. The first is that they are desperate. With their failure to take the town, they might just be attempting a quick smash and grab. Such gambit makes sense given their dire situation. The second possibility is that they are trying to trap you. Me? Yes. How many men have died by your hand or that of Loth of Scarag since you started your offensive? I did not keep count. Vampires trained for war are strategic assets. If they take you out, they will be able to use their mages to conduct night operations in quasi-impunity. We only have the three, enough to guard our leaders and nothing more. We have killed the two they sent after us. This is nothing. The core of their numbers should still be intact. I expect that you will be facing perhaps 10 battle-trained mages, and those 2 archmages besides. That is why I requested that you are accompanied. We shall see. I will prepare and depart. Go to the shore and look for tracks heading south. If there are none or if they fell back, go north. We cannot let them search. I shall do so. Isaac nods, and adds as an afterthought, thank you for cooperating. I appreciate your support, as I have before. I will not forget it. You can't. We both smile and I leave. I clean my claws with a torn piece of grayish uniform. There was only one group. 8 men with their suicidal runes, no mages. Strange. The 3 spellcasters walk up to me and stop as they take in the devastation around. I can taste their fear in the air, and in their heartbeats, yet they remain silent. Unless they are truly out of ideas, this is just an attempt to waste my time. The old man will not meet my eyes. He licks his lips nervously before replying. Yes, but for what? As soon as the words come out of his mouth, a series of whistling motes emerge from the ascendancy camp, far to the north, before smashing into the ground. An instant later the night turns red. For this. Damn it. Back. Tobe continued. Thanks for listening.